Okay, so we have begun the recording. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what we're doing or who we are, we're Active Claremont, and this is our membership meeting for January 2022. Some of you may or may not know we did originally intend to have our new police chief of Claremont, Aaron Fate, join us. However, unfortunately, he has been diagnosed with COVID and he has tested positive. So he is recovering right now. He's doing okay, but he didn't think he would feel well enough to join us on this Zoom. We are going to have him back probably in either March or April, and he'll be able to give us an update of the Claremont police force and what some of his plans and intentions are as the new chief of police for us. So with that being said, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to talk about, we have a water supply and drought management update that Mr. Brian Bocock is going to present for us. And then we're also going to talk about some other local news within our city of Claremont and some of the things that community members may not be aware of that maybe they should be aware of or might want to be aware of. So we're going to start with the water supply and drought management update, and then we'll get along to some other Active Claremont and city updates. So Brian, go ahead, take it away and let us know about our water supply.
All right. Is it on the screen now?
Yep, we can see it perfectly.
Okay. Anyway, because of everything that Joe just told you, this is a sort of a last minute thing, but I thought it was a very good timing. If you notice on the first picture there, it's got the Southern Cal Water Utility Association. That's a group that I belong to, and we had Brad from MWD. He made that presentation today, and I called into his office and I said, I'd really like to have it as a backup for us out here. And so that's what this is. And I think it's very enlightening for any of you that are on here tonight. I'm excited about it. And I wanted to share it with us, the whole group. And so what I'll do is, as I scan down here, this gives you a first idea. This is an overall idea. First thing you got to keep in mind is when you go up to this area up in here at Oroville Dam. Oroville is what usually supplies the aqueduct that you see when you go up Highway 5. So Oroville is so far down, what the state did, State Water Resources, they literally cut us off. And at the city of Tracy, all the gates are closed tight. And we haven't had any water coming south. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is, this is the Colorado River system. It goes all the way up into Wyoming, comes down through Utah, Colorado, parts of New Mexico. But what feeds the Colorado is all these little rivers that you see here. That's what's actually feeding the Colorado. And all of our water right now, which used to be, if you went back 23 years ago, that's where you were getting all your water. All the water for Claremont area was coming from the Colorado River. Now what we did is we changed it over and we're on the aqueduct because of where we have our plant up at Miramar and Padua. So, but what's happened, because we don't get any water at all from up there, now Metropolitan is actually pumping the water from in Laverne, the big plant that you see over there. They're pumping the water from there at 950 feet. They're pumping it all the way up to 1,875 feet to us so we could serve the people. And the agreement that we at Three Valleys made with them, we'll take the water from you, but we're not going to pay the pumping charge, because the pumping charge, it would, if this went on for a year, the pumping charge, you'd have Southern Cal Water asking for Golden State Water, asking for more money. And so we said, no, that's not going to happen. So what we did is cut a deal with them. They put the water back up to us and we serve it. And you wouldn't know the difference because I'm just telling you about it now. And if you go down through here, a storage over the years, going back to 2000, this is how many millions of acre feet of water. And if you see right now in 2021, after the rain, we're sitting at 2.5, which is pretty darn good. But the governor, in his infinite wisdom, said, turn the pumps off. And so State Water Resources turned the pumps off. As of today, actually at 1:30 this afternoon, the governor decided to give us 15% of our allotment, which will start either tomorrow or the next day. They'll fire the pumps up and they'll open those gates at Tracy, the city of Tracy, and we'll start getting some water. That's a good thing. And you got to keep in mind, out of our 100% allotment, we're only going to get 15% of it. And just to let you know, all the years that I've been involved in water, which is 61 years, out of all that time, we've never received more than 45% of our water. So that just another little point. If you look at the storage and where we're at and what we're doing, these are the different areas that we're working on with the Colorado. Lake Mead, they're hurt. You can see they're hurt. All you got to do is start looking at the graphs. This is a state water project. You notice it's got a hash mark in it. That means we're not getting anything from that area. But when you start looking at the rest of the shortages, we're still pretty short. The advantage that we have with Metropolitan is that we have, over the years, Metropolitan looks way into the future. And thank God they do, because there's enough water. And those of you that have been on the tour out to Diamond Valley, that water that's there, they're now taking that water and pushing it up to Sacramento, to San Bernardino, and feeding that line across. So wherever we're getting water from and the way they're moving it around, it comes to Laverne and it comes to Claremont. And then we take that water and we service both Golden State and the city of Laverne. Other agencies, but I'm only talking about our area. But when you look at it, if they didn't have the foresight to be able to do what they did, and this is going back into 2019, and the issues back in then that day and what they've done because of what they've done, we're not going to be hurting this year. And you might have noticed on the news this morning, they were talking about Las Virgenes, which is up in the northwest corner of the metropolitan facilities. They're already starting to ration. They're also putting drones in the sky. And if your water is hitting the gutter, it's hitting the sidewalk, you will automatically get a restriction in your meter. So when you think you're getting 3/4 of an inch or a 1-inch meter in Claremont, if you were getting it restricted, you'd be getting about 5 gallons a minute, which means you wouldn't be watering your lawn very often. So that just gives you an idea, and your shower would be cut down by 80%. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to that. We are above that, and we've done very good programs that we have is working out very well. We've had 2 dry years, and if you look at them, look where we're at right now. This is a 2020, and we've had another one here. You go back in here, we've had a few good years, but it never did fill the aqueducts, the aquifers that we need filled. And just to give you an idea, San Gabriel, which is one of the areas, San Gabriel Watermaster, which is at the 210 and the 605, when you look at those pits right now, if government, and I'll say the government, but it's regional water, the Water Resource Committee that cut us off. If that rainwater that we had, those 4 days of rain, if we'd have got that water and brought it south, we'd have been able to fill that system. It doesn't sound like much, but just to give you an idea, if we got that water, we would fill it with 325,000 acre feet of water. That's how much we could have got, but we didn't. And the other problem that I have is if you go up into the San Joaquin, this little right here, all the water that comes down to Tracy down here, all the water that they were getting up there because of the rain, and that's actually flows reverse. It actually goes up here and goes through the Delta. That water come up there, and just in this last, since the last rain, since last couple of months, We had 330,000 acre feet of water was in the San Joaquin River and went right out under the Gold Gate Bridge. All they had to do was open the valves right there at Tracy, and we could have taken that water. The difference being, and where I get frustrated is, the difference is we'd have paid $150 an acre foot for that water to come down this way, right down the canal. Instead, it goes out to the ocean. Then if you want desal, that's a great idea, as long as you want to spend about $3,000 to $3,500 an acre foot. So put it in perspective. It doesn't take too much rocket science to figure that out. This is the service area that we are in. This is where we're at, right in here. The area that I was talking about, this is the Los Virgenes Water District, which is the West Branch. Because the way Metropolitan works, they're taking the water from Laverne out of the Weymouth plant, the big plant that you see over there. They're taking that water and they're actually pushing it all the way up here. And that's a pretty good little boost, but that's how they're doing it. And that's how they're saving it. And they're putting it in the Jensen plant up there. And so everybody is working together in this area that you see right here. We're all working together to make it a better and more sufficient supply of water. If we have another drought, if it goes on this next year, we'll be in more trouble. We meaning Metropolitan. They will then be calling for emergency rationing. And right now, that's not going to happen. If you just look through some of the systems that they had and some of the things that they're doing, I'm going to skip over some of it because a lot of this has pertaining to a lot of the water managers were at that meeting today. But as it says, you know, the issue itself with the State Water Project, SWP is State Water Project, and the solutions. This is it. This is what we were talking about today. And they have all the great ideas, but it only takes us to get the government in Sacramento to move in a different direction than what they're doing. And what's holding us up more than anything else is the environmental impact study to do some of the things that need to get done. It's not going to get done until we get by that. Here's the Diamond Valley project. When you look at Diamond Valley, that's some of the work that was going on out there. They have the State Water Project right now. They're mixing the state water and they're mixing the Colorado River. They're taking that water. This is Diamond Valley down here. That's the biggest earth and fill dam that there is in all the United States. It's totally earth and fill. You can drive across it. It doesn't look like it, but you can actually, if you've been with me on some of these trips, you can go across there, and that's a couple of miles long right there. Doesn't look like it, but it is. There's an early picture. That was in October, just before the rain. And that's going up, that's where we get our water. This is going right down through here, and it goes right into Oroville Dam. Oroville Dam is far below what it should be, but this is the results of what you're seeing. And that's a little stream of water that doesn't do anything. And that's why they had to shut everything down. But since the rain came, it's now right about halfway up that pilaster on these bridges. It's got a long way to go yet, though, trust me. And these are some of the things they're declaring. If they declare, this is saying what's going to happen if everything fails. This is what you're going to be looking at. They're going to declare a drought, and you're going to have to live with it. And they're doing everything that they can to move the water. They're taking transfer water here. The State Water Project is here, but all of the problem is right here. And the problem is that we have no way of getting around the Delta unless we build the tunnel. It started off, it was going to be 2 tunnels. It started off way back in the peripheral canal. And now they were talking about 2 tunnels, and that was with Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown left office, and our governor today says, no way are you getting 2 tunnels, you're getting 1 tunnel. My opinion is it's because he's from the north, and that's just my feeling. And so if we're lucky, we're going to get 1 tunnel. And everybody that's on this screen right now, if you're in your late 20s, early 30s, you'll be lucky to see that tunnel before your great grandkids do. So that's the way I feel. I know I will not be here when this is done. I wished I could be, but I won't be, I know. These are some of the things that are happening up there. That's the chairperson right there. There's the governor. And, you know, they're glad to get their pictures in the paper. But this water here comes from the Diamond Valley Reservoir. And right there, that's coming through the mountain. And that water right there is being pumped. And that's the water that's coming to us from Diamond Valley. It goes all the way up to through Riverside to San Bernardino, and then comes across what they call the upper feeder. And it's a great project. Here's all the different things that they're doing here. You know, when you look at it, here's Diamond Valley. They're pumping it up to and including it with the state water project, which is Silverwood. That's the water that state water goes to. And they're trying to blend it, use a little bit of what's left there, but they won't give us any here at Laverne and Claremont area because they're trying to ration it to make sure they have enough to get up here to the Jensen plant way up here at the top. So there's a lot of issues, but I will say, and I've been saying it, Metropolitan is far ahead of the curve. It's guys like, you know, when you start looking back and you see what was going on back in the late 30s and 40s, if we didn't have the wherewithal back then to do what they did, you wouldn't be getting any water from the Colorado River. If we had to deal with the environmental impact reports back then, you still wouldn't have any water coming from there. This is an idea of what they've done. Here's Diamond Valley down here in the corner. They're actually pumping that water up all the way up here. And this is up here at the Foothill Feeder, which is by Devil Canyon. That's out by the casino, if you want to look at it that way. And that water then comes across in the inland feeder, and then it'll come right across here and go on into our plant at Laverne and Claremont plant. This is another one. They talked a little bit about this today. This is the Rialto pipeline and some of the things that they're doing. What they're doing now is they're taking this water, and this is actually an agreement that they never had before. This is an agreement with a lot of the farmers. San Luis Reservoir is an agriculture type reservoir. And what they're doing now is we're actually sharing it with some of the farmers. And if we didn't share it with them, you know, it's their water, they're sharing it with us. And if they get in a spot, we're going to be sharing our water with them, which they will be. And when you start looking at the different, where they're changing out the up at San Luis Reservoir area, this is the free turnout. And I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody is really working hard, working together. And that's unusual. I can remember the day when none of them worked together, not even around here. If there was a way that Riverside could steal the water from this area, they would do it. And back in that day, it was the same thing with us. We would try to get any water we could and protect it. And that's how it worked. But today, all the managers, that's why they were all on here today. There was 57 of them on the program today. And they are working together, because if they don't, then we're going to be in a lot worse shape. But I don't want to talk doom and gloom, but with Metropolitan doing what they're doing, we are going to be in good shape for the next year. And even if there is a drought between now and the summer, Metropolitan is still in a good position to be able to take care of it. What I'm hoping for is between the snowpack, that snowpack is going to melt a lot faster than you think. It's inevitable because of the climate change. And because of that climate change, we're going to have some issues with it. The problem that I have with it personally is that that water is going to come off of the Sierras. It's going to go right down into the Sacramento. And we're only going to get, by summertime, they'll figure a way of cutting us down to either 5 or 10%. Right now, they're saying 15. But if they cut it down, the water that's coming down there off that snowpack is going to go right out to the ocean. And that's the thing that I push more than anything is why. And going through some of this stuff, and what they're trying to do, the demands on the state water project and how they're going to deal with it. And everything, it goes back to what they talked to the managers about today. This is what we're looking at. And this is the what if. What if we don't get any more rain? If we don't get any more rain, this is the program that they're going to try to put together. And I was real excited about it because that tells me they've been working on this since 2018. What they didn't count on was the drought for this year. But even then, when they figure a project, they always figure it about 140 to 150% of what they think they're going to get. And that makes this a good project and a worthwhile thing. So anyway, then getting up here, if the drought action, again, what if this is what's going to happen? We're expecting the worst, but I hope we don't end up with all the worst that you could possibly get. But they are planning for our future, and it is a good thing. And just to let you know, this is some of the things that these are just some of the things that Met is putting down to us. But when you start looking at it and the risk, this is the 3-year drought. This is where we're at right now, right here, 0. We get 0 right now. We're hoping that they give us 0 to 25. What we ended up getting, as I just told you at the very beginning, we're getting 15% starting within the next week. It should be. And we will be planning for this condition. They're planning it right now. That's what they're telling the managers. Plan on your local supply, plan on holding your water, plan on, pumping water, diverting water, doing everything that you can. And this would be the extreme drought. And if it's an extreme drought, which means all that from now on, if we don't get any rain, this is where we'll be this time next year. This just gives you an idea of what they're looking for. This is the Sierra snowpack. This is what they had 20. Then it came down to 24 feet. They're already anticipating 31 feet. And as they get on up here, if they get what they want, and the best we had was 53 feet. That was back in 1991. I don't think we'll ever see that again because of the climate change. These are some of the things that they're going to be looking at. There's storage issues, exchange issues, having agreements with different partners, which is like with us, one of them, pumping and how we're going to do it, how they're going to work it over here with the Diamond Valley to the Rialto feeder. And here's the different programs they're really going to be pushing onto the public before too long. And there's a better shot at Diamond Valley and what they're all about. And Brad, as it says, he's the group manager for water resources and a personal friend. That's why I got this tonight. We just had that meeting this afternoon. But if you ever get a chance and you're on your own, you drive out here, look at Diamond Valley, just walk up. And this is what they call the crow's nest up here. You can look down here and look at this whole thing. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, but it's a good thing. This project right here was $2 billion, that's with a B, $2 billion. And when they got through with it, it's a good thing they have this program right now, because if we didn't have this, the drought that we're in right now, there would be basically rationing. You would be getting probably 20 to 25% of the water that you're now getting at home. So keep that in mind. Anyway, that's an update. The only thing that's really happening other than this, and just to, and I know I've mentioned it to a number of you before, down in Carson, they have the new Carson plant. It's a pilot project. They're working on it right now. But if you ever get an opportunity to, if they ever put one together, I've been down there more than a half a dozen times now, but it's the LA County Sanitation Facility, and they have a line that goes right from the LA County Sanitation over across one block. And then they treat that water, and that's the water that's the people in Orange County are drinking today. What they're going to do is with Carson, They'll finish Carson. They'll take that water from Carson, the city of Carson, and they'll work it all the way up to the 210 and the 605 and be able to put it right into those pits. And by doing that, Mother Nature will take care of it and it'll percolate in the ground. And when it gets done, it'll be good, it'll be good drinking water. Now, the water that they're doing at Carson, it is drinkable, but by the time it goes all the way up through the Whittier Narrows and works its way up to the 605 and the 210, I'm hoping that I'll be around to see that because they have the pilot already. What I won't be around to see is the next project that they have is going to go from the 210 and the 605, which is the San Gabriel Water Master program. They're going to take that water from there and they're going to let it free fall all the way from there back to Laverne and be able to take that water. And in Laverne, at the Weymouth plant, they have a 50 million gallon reservoir and that goes to Orange County. So they're going to be able to take that water and move it all the way around, all the way over to the 605 and the 210. From there, they're going to let it free fall all the way back to Laverne. And that'll be the water that we'll be using in Walnut, Diamond Bar, Pomona, Roland Heights, City of Industry, Covina, West Covina. So just something to keep in mind. They're working on it as we speak. It'll probably be 8 to 10 years before you see it in its fruition. So anyway, I'll turn it back to you, Joe. I appreciate your time. I just get excited when I get talking about water, and I know most of you have heard me before talk about it.
Well, it's obviously
I think it's exciting. I think there's a lot happening out there, and Metropolitan is at the helm, and we pay dearly for that water. I can remember when water was $95 an acre foot. Today at Three Valleys, it's $1,100 an acre foot. So think about it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you, Brian, and appreciate that update. And it's funny, like I was telling you before the meeting started, when we were getting rain the last couple of weeks, my first thought was, oh man, Brian and his water people are going to be so happy that we're actually getting some rainfall, and hopefully we can lessen some of the drought conditions. So I do appreciate you sharing that information. And I'm going to go ahead and take your screen off from sharing.
Hey, Joe, I was going to tell you one more thing. Just this is a sort of a side note.
Sure.
I think I told you I'm putting together what I call the old water buffaloes. As of now, I got 41 that's going to be coming to this luncheon that I'm having.
Oh, yes, good.
This is only done every 5 to 10 years, and it's been me that's been putting it on. I got an old buffalo hat. I got all kinds of things, but anyway, just to give you an idea how responsible the water agencies are, out of the men and women that are coming to this luncheon that I'm having next week, there's now, totaling it up, we have about 950 to 960 years of experience.
Well, it certainly sounds like we're in good hands then with all those people.
So when you look at that, you got these guys that are retired that are still like me trying to help people get back on their feet and do what they need to do. But the managers that I have coming and the supervisors that are coming in this group, the Southern Cal Water Utility Group, to be in this the Buffalo group, you got to be either retired or have 15 to 20 years of continual experience in the group. So when I total them up, and I'll get a final total when I have the lunch with these guys next week, but to total them up, we got almost 960 years of experience that'll be there. And I think that's phenomenal. So
yeah.
I just wanted to share that with you.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That is wonderful. So for those of you, I see there's some people that came in just a little bit late. So I want to clarify, obviously, as some people may or may not know, we were originally going to have Police Chief Aaron Fate with us from Claremont Police Department. He has tested positive for COVID, so he is a little under the weather, so he won't be joining us. So we're doing a quick pivot. And for those of you that have just joined us kind of in the last 10 or 15 minutes, we just had a great recap from Brian regarding kind of the current state of our water and our region's water. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk. I have a couple updates that I wanted to share with the membership that's here regarding Active Claremont. And then also I'm going to share my screen in just a little bit, and we're going to talk about the City Manager Weekly News Brief, which is a really great newsletter that the City Manager puts out that I'm not sure if everybody is aware of. So I just want to draw some attention to that and some of the items in that newsletter. So without further ado, I do want to thank Mr. Bill Bueller. He's here right now, and I want to thank him very much copiously for opening his backyard up to our New Year's Active Claremont gathering. It was a phenomenal venue. It was a great event. We had heaters and we had a big tent, and it was outside, and we had pizza and wine and food and soda, and it was great. It was an awesome, awesome event. And obviously with COVID and the weather, it was a little bit difficult to nail down, but I'm really glad that we were able to do it and we all got together. And actually, I think it's going to be something that we try to do a little bit more often moving forward. So I just wanted to extend a very big thank you to Bill and his wife for opening up their home to us for that event. Another thing that's kind of exciting that's coming up is this Saturday, the 22nd, we are going to be having our trash pickup event in person. We had our callers call around, so a lot of you probably know about that. That will start at 8 a.m. at St. Luke's Church in Claremont, right at the corner of Indian Hill and Foothill. Indian Hill and Baseline. And we meet sort of in the northeast portion of the parking lot. So I'll be there a little bit before 8 o'clock. We do have to have everybody sign a little paper that says they're releasing any type of liability for injury. And then we'll have everything else. We'll have your bags and all of your materials. So just bring yourself and a good attitude, and we will help beautify the city a little bit on Saturday. Another thing that I want to bring up with some active Claremont organization updates is we are still selling polo t-shirts. I will have them at the trash pickup. They're beautiful, they're high quality, they're $25 a piece. They're embroidered with our Active Claremont logo, and we have multiple sizes available for purchase. So if you're interested in that, please, so you can send an email to myself or any of the board members, or you can send it to all of us at board@activeclaremont.com, and we will absolutely take care of that for you. Another thing that I wanted to share with membership is, one of the things that the board is continually trying to do is obviously improve the organization any way that we can. One of the things that we've been really wanting to sort of focus and target on is growing our membership. Obviously, that's important with any organization, but with Active Claremont, it's really important. We typically, have around 100 or so members at any time, and we really like to see those numbers grow. And one of our main goals is to have that grow with a younger demographic. So the board has talked about implementing a few things that could hopefully spur that type of interaction with a younger community. So one thing that we're thinking about doing is possibly having a presence on one or some of the Claremont College's campuses. We know that volunteerism is a major thing for different levels of college students, whether they're looking for to fulfill a class requirement, or perhaps to help build a resume, or even for some type of post-grad application. And besides, we all know volunteerism is good for everyone in the community. So we're hoping to attract some hopeful members that way. We're thinking about also implementing some type of maybe student rate membership. We know that our membership is quite affordable as it is, but we all know what it's like to be a young college student. And so we're thinking about extending an opportunity that's a little bit more affordable and perhaps more attractive to that demographic of people. Another thing that we're thinking about doing is expanding our ability to obtain members by having more events in the public. Of course, now with COVID lightening up, we're really looking forward to Village Venture. That is one of the main ways that Active Claremont is able to get in front of the public, grow our organization, and just basically educate people about what we do and the purpose that we serve. We're also looking forward to more events like perhaps the 4th of July parade, things like that this year hopefully happen. Obviously, it's always kind of a variable. COVID is a very slippery little thing, and it's constantly evolving on us. hopefully we'll have a handle on it this spring, which will allow for some more events in the summertime and further beyond. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to share let me do 1 second here. This is the one that we want. All right, so that's not what you want to see. There we go. So on your screen, you should all see the news brief from the city manager. And these come out every week. If you don't receive these, they're really, you should be receiving them. If for some reason you didn't receive a copy, you can go ahead and email me or the board. We'll get a copy to you. And if you do want to enroll to get these email updates weekly, we can help you do that as well. A couple things I just want to point out. Here's the news brief. It's really neat when you get it in a PDF version. All of these blue links that are underlined, they are hyperlinks. You can click on them, learn more about each individual thing, which is great. The other thing that I really like about this is typically they're short, about 2 pages. So they're going to give you some good bite-sized information. And this is all City of Claremont stuff. So this all directly impacts our community and are notable things that are going on within our community. A couple things I want to bring to your attention. This one right here, City Council Priorities Planning. Some of you may know that there was some focus group meetings that took place. Essentially, the City Council is trying to just get information, get feedback from the public. What do we feel are things that the City Council and city should be focusing on? What are some issues and projects that we feel the city needs to sort of pay special attention to? I was speaking with Corey a little bit earlier today. It sounds like they've had a wonderful response in the surveys that the city has received back from citizens, which is great. There is one more strategic planning workshop that's going to be held January 22nd. That's this Saturday at 9 a.m. And as you can see, it's to develop a priority plan for Claremont's future. This is an important one. I know this does conflict a little bit with our trash pickup, but obviously, people can't be in 2 places at once. But if you're unable to do the trash pickup, or if you feel like this is a good way to spend your time, this is just something that I kind of want to make sure everybody is aware of. This is one of these times when, as a community member, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to raise an opinion, to exercise your voice, and basically sound off on what you think the city and city council needs to focus on. So that's just one thing that I kind of wanted to bring up as a sort of a special note. And of course, you'll see other things here that are really important. Another thing, household hazardous waste event. We're always getting asked about that, of course. So for any type of rechargeable batteries, electronics, that's going to be happening February 5th at the city yard. That's up on Monte Vista, right across from the Claremont Club. For people that aren't aware of where it is. This will be, as you can see, it's kind of going to be a COVID safe event, wear a face covering and stay in their vehicle with windows closed if possible. So again, another thing just to kind of be aware of. And lastly, before we move on, another thing that I wanted to bring up is this area here, community improvement, mailer and handbill solicitation. The reason I want to bring this up is because it kind of loops back with a presentation we had, again, with one of the Claremont police officers, where we were kind of talking about scams and things to be aware of, and basically making yourself not as vulnerable as possible. Again, we're still in COVID-19 protocol, so there shouldn't be anybody coming to your door soliciting anything, and there still is the mailer and handbill solicitation ordinance in effect, which basically says if someone is trying to leave items and make contact with you, they're not supposed to be doing that. They can leave items at your door. Whether or not we think that's appropriate or not, they are allowed to do that. However, if they are trying to make contact with a resident, that is when it becomes a little bit of a problem. So as always, we kind of talked about this a couple months back, but typically if anybody is going to your door and knocking on your door, chances are it's probably a less than legitimate reason. Every once in a while, there will be something, possibly a religious group or something like that. But these days, especially with COVID, just make sure you're staying safe. and try to make sure you're social distancing appropriately, and just be wary about people that are approaching you directly. So just wanted to bring that up. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. If I can figure out how to do such a thing. Okay. So at this point, what we can do is, if anybody has any questions about anything that we discussed, or if anybody would like to kind of bring up a topic of their own, we do have about 15 minutes of a little bit of question and answer. I see someone's in chat here. Oh, actually, Bill had a question for Brian. This is a good jumping off point. Brian, Bill asked, would a moratorium on building help? I believe he's referring to sort of the water allocation and water usage. And also, how much water is underground in the desert area? And Brian, if you can, yeah, perfect, unmuted.
Well, first of all, the housing market does not, it does affect us, obviously, and Bill is right. It does affect us. The difference is, and the law is very, very explicit. The law says that a developer goes into the city, and in Claremont's case, they would go to Golden State Water, and Golden State, the first question they're going to ask them is, do you have the water that's going to be necessary to cover 50 houses, whatever amount it is? Do you have the water that's going to be available for it? If Golden State says no, then it's got to go back to the city, go back through the process. And when it goes through that process, then they're going to come back and say, how much water do you have and how many houses can you build? Well, fortunately, because of the market itself, fortunately, developers are still able to build. And the reason is they can work a deal to where, you know, if Golden State didn't have the water, that'd be one thing. But what they'll do is they'll go to, in our case, Three Valleys. They'll come to Three Valleys and say, do you have the supply that's going to meet our needs? Well, of course, we're going to be able to say yes, because we do have the supply. The only time we don't is if there's a drought. And so since I've been on the board up there, we put in now 4 wells. And the 4 wells that are there is more than enough to take care of some of the issues that you're talking about. But right now, that's not an issue. It's not an issue in Claremont. There is water available for that housing. The difference is, if you'd have built this 20, 25 years ago, you wouldn't have had to worry about putting in any conservation. If you build today, you will put in conservation, and you'll be subject to fines if you don't. And the city knows that, and they're following the rules just like every other city. If the water wasn't available, it'd be one thing. You could actually hold the project up because the water is not there. But in our case, we do have the water, and it's able to be dealt with. So if Golden State says, yes, we have the water, then the city has no choice but to let them go ahead to the next step of the EIR and deal with it. But right now, there is not an issue with water as far as development.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And you know what? There's one other thing that I want to bring up as well. A member, Bob Gricky, sent me a couple notes that he felt were important to share. So I want to share those with membership. Number one, this is a great one that's very applicable, and it kind of actually refers to the last question that we had from Bill. I want to let everybody know that until the 31st, the public can comment on the city's plan for future housing development. It's called the housing element. So the draft proposes large buildings, each a high proportion of limited income people, mainly in and around the village. So there's a couple things that are important with that. So the housing element, City of Claremont, until the 31st, they're going to be basically taking public comment. So if there's anything that you want to share with that, you do have still about 11 days to do so. Another thing that's very important to talk about is the city council will discuss redistricting the city council lines on Saturday the 29th at 10 a.m. and that's going to be just redistricting the city zones for city council. And that also could be something that is going to have a big impact on our city and the way our local government functions. So if you have interest in sounding off or inputting on that topic, that would be a good time to do so. Again, that's going to be Saturday the 29th at 10 a.m. Again, this is all going to be via Zoom now, as we have a little uptick in Omicron. All of these things that I'm talking about are going to be via Zoom. So there's that.
Joe, I want to clarify one thing, because you said
Yes.
the city council. It's not some of these meetings, like the focus groups that we had, were just for residents. It's unfortunate because they haven't always characterized that correctly. I asked staff to make sure they fix that, because people go assuming the city council is going to be there. But some of these meetings, intentionally, we are not there because you want the public to feel comfortable to comment without feeling that like the council is there influencing it, or if they're just not comfortable being in front of council, they can speak in a more relaxed setting. So that event on that districting meeting, we already had the hearing before city council, the initial hearing. Now it's going to 2 public meetings, and this is the first. The city council is not planning to be there. It will culminate with 2 hearings before the city council to complete the process, but this is not one of those. So I just want to clarify that, so people don't go expecting the council to be there and then why isn't the council here?
Sure.
So
yeah, that's thank you for clarifying, and that's a great reason to do so. People should feel unrestricted in sharing their thoughts and opinions about issues that might affect where they live. So that's thank you for clarifying, because that's very important. So at this juncture, that we've kind of covered all the topics that we had planned tonight. And if anybody would like to ask any questions or chime in with anything else, now would be a time to do so. Again, I just want to kind of give everybody another reminder. Trash pickup Saturday, 8 a.m., St. Luke's Church. I'll be there handing out supplies. Most of the rest of the board will be there, and we'll be looking forward to, actually, the weather's supposed to be great. It might be a little chilly in the morning, but it should be sunny and clear, and I think it's going to get up to about 71 or 72 on Saturday. So should be great weather to pick up some trash. And again, that's St. Luke's Church, corner of Baseline, Foothill, the northeast corner of the parking lot. We meet at 8 o'clock. Typically, we'll go out, pick up some trash for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And then by about 10:30, we're all wrapped up and we're out of there. So if you feel like contributing and helping clean up your community, very much appreciate you joining us. And
hey, Joe, there
yes,
is,
sir.
I see the one question on there from Ben Nance.
Yes, that just came through.
Maybe Corey can answer it. I'm not sure if you can or he can, but maybe somebody ought to respond to that.
Sure. Actually, Corey might be, it looks like might be questions in here suited for him. Can you see the question from Ben, Corey?
I'm going to see here what we've got. Yeah, I appreciate that. Actually, I received feedback when we had our event at Bill's house, that there's a little bit of finger pointing that goes on internally, suggesting it's police, suggesting it's city clerk, suggesting that it's code enforcement. The city attorney suggested to me that it's the police department, but I asked for them to get back to me to clarify. The best recommendation I can make to folks, if they have video showing it that they want to have turned into the city, you can always send it to me or any of the council members, and we can forward that through the city to the city manager's office. And sometimes that's the most expeditious way to go, because by taking it from the top, it gets right down to where it needs to be. Sometimes there's some confusion on the other levels, when you go there. So just to avoid that in the short term, you could forward those to me. But again, I'm getting final clarification of this, but I've been told it's supposed to be the police department that fields those and does the investigation on that.
Oh, thank you, Corey, for the detailed answer, and I'm sure that other members of the membership will appreciate having that information. Thank you. Excellent. Well, at this time, if anybody else has any other comments or remarks or questions, you can go ahead and put those in the chat. Or if you prefer to just speak, I'm happy to turn over the mic to you. If there's no other questions, I'm going to kind of just go over a couple other things really, really quick that we haven't covered in great detail. Oh, look at this. We have wonderful news. Bill says that him and his wife would be happy to host a social quarterly. So it looks like we have some planning to do as a board, and hopefully we'll be able to have some more events soon. I was hoping Bill would say that because, man, he's got the party pad. If you haven't been to his backyard, it is the place to be. That's what I would call it the place to be. That would be a good name for it. So we'll have more information on that. We'll try to do one here, maybe in April or May. Gets a little bit warmer or something like that. Brian, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think Bill must have got permission from Lori to put that on. So I just, I think it's a great idea. And just for the people that were not at the event that we just had at Bill Bueller's place, there was actually 23 people there. And that's sort of the thing that I do. I always try to count them because some come early and leave early. And but overall, we had 23 people there. It was a great event. And again, Bill, both you and Lori, I want to thank you for doing that. And if you're willing to do it quarterly, I think the board could work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a great event. I want to echo your words, Brian. It was wonderful. I think we had a great time. And it was certainly nice to see people and see them in person. I've been the president now for over a year, and I'm still meeting new members, which is crazy. But we haven't had a chance to meet a lot, so that kind of makes sense. So, well, with that said, I want to thank.
Hey, Helene. Oh. We had wine at that event. If you'd like to.
Oh, Helene, you're muted. But I can see her talking. Oh, there we go.
Did you really? Next time I'll make sure I'm there.
And we had the really nice wine. We had some $2 chuck. It was wonderful. It paired nicely with the pizza, I must say.
Pizza and $2 chuck, nothing better.
No, it was, yeah, it was great. It was a wonderful.
There was a bottle of $2 chuck there. I did see it, and it brought back a lot of memories.
Yeah, I drank some of it. It was great.
After your third bottle, $2 chuck doesn't really matter.
There you go. So anyway,
I think that's a great idea, Joe. If Bill is willing to do that, we just need to make sure we advertise it and, and get people to bring. It doesn't have to be a main event. It could be just a lot of appetizers and things like that, and just have the people meet and just get together. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I agree. Even if it's something minor where it's, maybe just beverages or something like that. I think it's always good to collaborate, get together. And I know for me, it's nice to meet new members because there's so many people I haven't met. And if we can get, 23 people, if we get 23 people, on an evening in January outside, I would love to think that we could, potentially double that number, with enough notice in a non-COVID environment and, on a nice warm afternoon. So I certainly think that's something that we should continue to do. And I certainly think that's something that we should continue to plan for and like you said, promote and make sure everybody knows about it.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I see John Scott is asking a question. Just real quick, John.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were paying attention at that program that I just put on about water. The answer to your question, though, as far as it being publicized, right now, Metropolitan Water is on the cutting edge of that. They have in the budget for just advertising of the snowpack and the Delta itself, there's a little over $2 million just for publication. So yes, to answer your question, they are concerned about the snowpack because if the climate change continues the way it's going, obviously that snow is going to go away a lot faster. And they are letting people know. And that's the biggest concern about the Delta right now. But thank you for the question, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Like I said, if you want to type, you can, and if you want to,
How about that perfect timing? It's almost 8 o'clock.
I know I didn't want to say anything, Brian, because it's just like it's too perfect. It's amazing. So without any other things to tackle, again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. I know you all have very busy schedules and your time is valuable, and thank you very much for carving out an hour to spend with Active Claremont. Again, we'll be at St. Luke's Saturday, 8 a.m. trash pickup. Please join us. And next month we will be having Lissa Peterson talking to us. She has a kind of a very cool local community project that she wants to share with us. And she's also a neighbor of mine. So I'm always happy when we can have some neighbors on the show. She lives right across the street from me. So we'll have her on. And then we will be rescheduling Chief Fate to most likely March, I think, at this time. So we already have some programming ahead for that. So stay tuned. Of course, we'll have Facebook announcements and email blasts for our both our events and our upcoming meetings. And if you ever have a question, if you ever want to pick our brains about something, or if you have a speaker or a topic that you would like covered on an Active Claremont meeting, please feel free. You can email me, president@activeclaremont.com, and I will get that, or the board at activeclaremont.com. We'll get your suggestions, we'll get your feedback, and we'll be happy to do what we can with those things. So without any further ado, thanks so much for joining us this evening. I hope you all enjoyed the meeting, and we'll see you all next time for another Active Claremont meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.
And before you finish up, being I'm the treasurer, don't forget your dues.
Yes, we have dues. If you have not paid your 2022 dues,
Show me the
Brian
money.
is getting angrier and angrier as the days pass by. And let me tell you, Brian is not someone you want to have be on Brian's bad side, because that's a bad thing. So if you are a member and your dues have not been paid, let us know. Please reach out to us. We can take payment.
I see
number of ways.
Jackie's on there, and so she'll be hopefully on the phones with her crew and be asking for the dues. But it'd be also a good time for her to announce the Bill Bueller event on a quarterly basis. So we'll have to talk about that.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, if we will be making our calls as we normally do. Thank you, Jackie and her caller crew, for doing that. Always a labor of love that is much needed to keep everybody in tune. So again, if you haven't paid your 2022 dues, please let us know, and we can help you out make that payment. And if you have paid your dues, thank you very much for continuing your membership with Active Claremont. And if you know anybody else that would benefit from joining Active Claremont, we would be happy to have them join us.
Sorry, I have one thing to add. I guess it's
okay.
What the email is, Active Claremont. Is it? Sorry, my mother was telling me, she corrected. ActiveClaremont.org, I think.
.org. So president at activeclaremont.org and board at activeclaremont.org, and that will get all of your emails to us. Thank you, Alexander, for correcting me. I do appreciate that. We don't want these emails going to the incorrect place. Everybody hates the mailer demon that they get. So if you have any topics that you want covered, or anything that needs to be addressed, we'd be happy to do so. If you know someone that would like to speak at one of our meetings, we'd be happy to entertain that idea as well. Does anybody else from the membership or board have anything else to input?
Just show me the money.
You heard him, everyone. Pay up. Pay the man his money. So we'll see you all in about a month. Hopefully you'll be able to join us Saturday at the trash pickup. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and thanks again for joining. Have a good night, everyone.
Great. Thank you very much, Joe.